and I've been muted all this time. Hello, everyone. It's been 9 months of working from home, and I still don't seem to get the muting. Welcome to the fiscal year 2021 SPECA Grants Program. The SPECA program is secondary education, 2-year post-secondary education, and Ag in the Classroom, college grants. As I was saying, this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on our website in maybe a week or so. My name is Carlos Ortiz. I am the National Program Leader leading this program. We also have Ms. Donna Hyatt and Dorsal Resto, who are program specialists working on this program as well. What we will be talking about today is a brief introduction of USDA and what the National Institute of Food and Agriculture does. We'll talk about the SPECA program and what it is part of this solicitation, as well as the request for the application, and we'll spend most of the time answering any questions that you may have. So the National Institute of Food and Agriculture is an agency within USDA. Our mission is really to invest in and advance agricultural research, education, and extension with the goal of solving societal challenges. We do this by investing in education activities, extension activities, as well as research. We are an extramural agency, so all of our funding is provided to other institutions via grants or capacity funds. We at NIFA, basically our portfolio revolves around our priority science areas. These are the topics that we as an agency are in charge of funding. So we fund topics about climate science, youth development, food science, environmental systems, food and family and consumer and others. So these are very broad topics. It result in us funding projects in a wide variety of topics. So when you think about it, we fund projects that have to do with obesity, that have to do with family well-being, with air, forest, and soil research. We, of course, fund minority serving institutions, fund animal breeding and animal health, so on. So the goal of this slide is to really show you that when we think about agriculture, we think about all the topics that are involved in the food and agricultural system, not just the typical that people think of about plants and just animals. Within our division, the Division of Community and Education, we have about 25 education and grant capacity building programs, and these result in about $225 million a year. And what you can see here, the infographic on this slide, is a little map of where our programs fall and what the target of each one of the program is. So what the funds are supposed to target, who are the participants that we are hoping to affect via our funding. So as you can see on the right-hand side, SPECA is listed as in the K-12 and the 2-year education program. So the SPECA program will have participants that are at the K-12 level as well as the 2-year community college or technical college level. Very important slide, the current request for applications out there. The due date for the proposals is February 4th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Any proposals that are received after 5 p.m. Eastern time will not be reviewed and will be returned without any review. The award sizes for this program varies, and we'll go a little bit into detail on the grant types that we have. And they range from $50,000 all the way to $300,000 total funding. The way where you can find the request for applications is on our website as well as grants.gov. You can just really, using your web browser, you can just search for NIFA, SPECA, and it will take you to this web page that has the funding opportunity. That is a funding opportunity. When you click on the view RFA, you'll get a document that has all the instructions that you will need to know in what are the requirements for this program, as well as how to apply for this to this program. The goal of SPECA really is to encourage academic institutions to build partnerships with other organizations and employers to identify and address challenges facing the food and agricultural community in the education, in an education and workforce realm. Really, the purpose here is really enhance the quality of K-14 education. When we talk about K-14, we are talking about the K-12 plus the 2 years of community college or technical college education. The goal of the program is to really promote and strengthen this type of education in the food and agricultural sciences, as well as to build synergistic links between high school, post-secondary, and higher education programs. What we want to do through this program is to increase the number and diversity of students that are interested in food and agricultural sciences and all the topics that relate to them in order to strengthen the America's standing and availability of highly skilled workforce. Again, the role of SPECA is to support activities that go from the from the kindergarten to the first 2 years of community college or associate degrees. And what we're seeking to do, or what we're seeking to fund, is really activities that will support the curriculum development or the development of instructional systems or expanding student career opportunities. We're also looking to fund projects that target faculty preparation and enhancement of teaching, as well as to facilitate interaction between academic institutions. I talked about these linkages of the high school, the the 2 years community college, technical college, as well as 4-year institutions. So we're looking to fund projects that will affect or will have these activities as their target goals. The SPECA program has 3 different grant types, and all of them have different funding levels. The duration for either of these projects is between 24 and 36 months. So the minimum time that we are expecting projects to be active is 24 months. The maximum is 36 months. So regular grants are to be submitted by a single institution. You can always have more partners than that, but you only have to be only one to satisfy this requirement. In this case, it's only $50,000 total, not per year. And the idea here is that the institution will carry the project. There is no need to share funds. The institution as a whole can just carry the whole project. And we're looking at projects having a broad student impact and not just be used to support the salary of one person or two, and that only be the only activity that they have. In the case of the collaborative grant type 1, this project will support it's about $150,000 total, and the requirement here is you'll have to be 2 different institutions, the applicant plus 1 partner. So in this case, as always, the applicant will execute the project. You have to have at least 1 partner. And the important part here is the partner doesn't have to be necessarily an eligible institution. So you could be an academic institution and partner with a school district. You can partner with a nonprofit organization or so on. You can choose whoever the partner is. And that partner doesn't really have to be an eligible institution within the RFA, because the proposal will be submitted through the applicant that is the eligible institution. And we'll go through eligibility in the next couple of slides. The third grant type that we are offering this year is a collaborative grant type 2. In this case, we'll have 1 applicant plus 2 or more partners, and the funding level that we're providing is $300,000 total. The important part here is that since it's a collaboration, the partners must share grant funds, with the applicant retaining no more than 30%, no more than 70% of the funds. And each partner has to receive at least 10% of the funds. Outside of those directives, you are welcome to just craft the budget as it better fits your project. The difference between the CG1 and the CG2 project scope is that the CG2 we're looking more of a large geographic footprint than that of the CG1. We're trying to look at something that is a major state or regional challenges. And with, and when we say major, we're still, talking within the constraints of the budget that we are providing you. Regarding eligibility, so entities eligible for the SPECA program are public secondary schools. These are not districts, and also school boards are not eligible to receive this award. They have to be the actual school. Public or private nonprofit junior or college or community colleges, institutes of higher education, as well as nonprofit organizations with 501c3 status. Regarding the application, what we ask for you guys to provide us is that your project narrative will have to be 25 pages that are double spaced, and the font should be no smaller than 12 points times New Roman. Within this project narrative, what we need you to elaborate on is the potential of advancing the quality of education, proposed approach and cooperative linkages, institutional capacity, capability and capacity building, as well as the budget and cost effectiveness of your program. I always encourage applicants to really tell us a little bit about the community that you're seeking to affect. Tell us about why is that need within that community, because it just provides a background. It just paints a wider picture about why the project it is needed and why you are seeking to affect those individuals in such way. How do we evaluate the proposals at NIFA? It's very simple. We have a two-step process. The first one is an administrative screening in which a program staff makes sure that the proposals that we receive are from eligible applicants, that those proposals fit the criteria, AKA that is the 25 pages, no more than 25 pages. If is longer than 25 pages, it will be rejected without review. We also make sure that the budget, that none of the proposals go above the budget. Remember, the budget that we provided is either $50, $150, or $300,000, depending on the grant type. So once we have finalized the administrative screening, the proposals move into scientific peer review process in which we identify experts in the fields, and we invite them in a panel setting to read and discuss all the proposals based on their pedagogical and scientific merit. Once this merit has been found, then they rank them based on said merit. And those are the instructions that we use to make the funding recommendations. So if you're wondering how your proposal will be evaluated, and this is listed within the RFA, page 23 and 24, we will be evaluating your proposals based on pretty much the topics that we ask you to elaborate within your narrative. So that will be your potential for advancing quality of education, the significance of the program, of the problem, proposed approach, the capability of your institution, as well as the capacity that it will build within it, the key personnel that is associated with the project, their credentials, their capacity to carry the project, as well as how the budget is used and the cost effectiveness of the same. It is very important to note that the SPECA program's indirect cost is capped at 30% of the total federal funds awarded. Some of the things that you cannot acquire or use the funds for are to refurbish or renovate any facilities, as well as to plan, repair, or rehabilitate any of them. You can use any of the funding for endowment, and very important, you cannot use funds for to get t-shirts, giveaways, and other things. These are ruled by federal regulations outside of SPECA. So it is a 2 CFR 200 regulations, and your Office of Sponsor Program should be very aware of this, of the allowance of or cost or not. Very important to note, all the documents that are to be submitted as part of your application have to be in PDF. I recommend that you use Acrobat's PDF builder, Oftentimes we have seen that some third-party PDF builders, the documents just don't process correctly and our systems cannot read them. So oftentimes what we see is just a white page that is submitted. So I will encourage you to please make sure that your PDF documents are saved in the correct way, because we cannot receive documents once the deadline has been passed and your application will be read or will be reviewed as submitted. Make sure that you add the correct program codes, and I have those in the next slide for you to take note of. And as always, as I mentioned earlier, make sure that your narrative will not exceed the 25 pages, because after all the work that you'll put to put this program together, the last thing you want is that it's not reviewed just because the project narrative is longer than it has to be. So just make sure that all the details that are delineated within the request for applications are met to ensure that your proposal is reviewed and has a chance of getting funded. This is a very important information about this program. It really tells you everything that you need to know about deadlines and what type of information you need to have. So the program code is SPECA. Again, the date is February 4th of 2021, and the due date is 5 p.m. of that date. The project duration is between 24 and 36 months, and we have 3 different grant types. So depending on what is it that you're trying to do, depending if you want to do it yourself or with a partner, will dictate the amount of money that you are eligible to apply for. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about, before we go to your questions, let's talk a little bit about how you should apply to grants at NIFA. So we have many resources for you on our website, as well as grants.gov. In grants.gov is the mechanism that you will use to submit your application. Applications are not submitted through the NIFA website, but they're submitted through grants.gov. If you need any help with training on how to do so, NIFA has resources about this. So if you go onto our website, there will be a tab that is called Grant Training, and you will have some documents as well as link to videos on how to apply to our grants. If you're a new institution, a school, a nonprofit or so that doesn't have much experience working with federal grants, you will need a DUNS and a SAM number. You can process these documents via grants.gov, and I will tell you to please start doing this ASAP, because it may take a little bit of time for you to have these credentials. Without these credentials, you cannot apply to our program. Once you have your credentials, once you have your project, the easiest way to apply to submit your application is through our website that then will link you to grants.gov. You can find where to apply for our grants via the funding opportunity page, the same page where you extracted the RFA from. The link on the left is the one that will take you to grants.gov, and it will allow you to download the package of all the documents that you need to fill out in order to submit your proposal. So these are a few instructions. Once you are in grants.gov, you'll have to preview the package, and what it does, it basically lists all the documents that you have to fill out, all the forms that you need to fill out that will have the information of your application. So the SF 424 is information about your institution. Think of it as a cover letter of what your application will be. Then you have the budget tables. Then you have the key personnel forms. So once you download this package, it will have all the forms that you need to submit as part of your application. As always, we have an application guide that is available on our website, and you can find it really as simple as just on your web browser searching NIFA application guide, and it will take you to the website that has the correct information on how to find it and how to get it. Very important, and before we go to your questions, I would just want to point other funding opportunities that we also have that fund things similar to what SPECA does. So WAMS and Women and Minorities in STEM Disciplines funds topics similar to SPECA. The due date is January 21st, 2021. The Professional Development for Ag Literacy the target of this program is teachers and teacher training. We don't have an RFA for 2021 yet, but you are welcome to look at the 2020 RFA to get some information and some idea of what this program it is to do. We also have the Higher Education Challenge Grants Program with a deadline or due date of March 18, 2021. The HEC program supports more programs in the undergrad and graduate school level. So it's a little bit a different target. It's a higher target as in the 4-year institutions. Very important resources that we have for you is if you want to know if a program will be offered next year or this year, you can just really search for the upcoming RFA calendar schedule that is on our website, and it will show you when the programs that we have offered in the past, or if we will be offering in this fiscal year 2021. We also have a webinar and other events calendar, just like the one where you had to go into to sign up for this webinar. I recommend that you keep an eye on it because we have many webinars for our programs, as well as other training resources that are public and available for you to enjoy and use to apply for our programs. The last one that I have is the competitive grants process. And if you're new to grants, grant writing and applying to grants, this really will show you a little bit of like, what is the process that we at NIFA use from the moment that we release the request for applications to the moment that the award has been made, has taken place, and the award is closed. So it really paints a picture, the full picture of what the process will be about. Lastly, I really enjoy this infographic just because it really tells you, it's an easy way for you to figure out where is it that you want to have your activities. Do you want to have activities that take place at the 4-year college or universities? If so, there are 3 programs that fund activities at those. If it is at the K-12 level and so on, if you're a minority served institution, we have other programs that support minority served institutions and so on. So that one is you can really, again, on your web search, just search NIFA pipeline and it will take you to this website with that infographic. And it has much more information about each one of the programs. With that being said, if you have any questions, please use the chat to send them our way and we'll try to answer them as fast as possible. Let's see. Let me scroll all the way to Can CG1 proposals include applicant plus 2 partners? Absolutely. So the minimum on CG1 is the applicant plus 1 partner, but that's the minimum. You can always have more than 1 partner. The same is true with the regular proposal that, it doesn't have to be only 1 institution. If you want to have a partner, you are more than welcome to have those. Just the requirement is in the CG1, you have to have at least your institution plus 1 more. In CG2 is at least your institution plus 2 other entities or 2 other partners for that. Can community college collaborate with high schools to provide dual credit options? Is that case, will it be considered a single institution or collaborative 1 or 2? So one of these institutions, so the dual credit option is the interesting part, right? Where these are 2 separate institutions and they will be marked as such. What your project is to provide that dual credit option. So that's, in that case, you're speaking about the project, not about the eligibility of every single institution. So in this case, probably the community college would apply and the high school will be one of the partners. If you have 2 high schools, then it will be a CG2 and so on. Is there a way to access the slides? You are more than welcome to send me an email or send Donna an email and we'll provide you a PDF of the slides. Can one institution submit as PI on one proposal and also collaborate as co-PI or partner on another proposal? Absolutely. You are more than welcome to submit. There is no limit on institutional applications here. And yeah, you can be a PI in one, a co-PI in other, and so on. My technical colleges put forward a dual credit program with a local high school last year, not funded but well received. We'll look forward to seeing that again. And if you submitted last year, make sure that you attend to the panelist reviews, and you are always more than welcome to resubmit. If doing a culinary, would chef code be included as t-shirt, even though needed for kitchen safety? So that's different. So the idea with the t-shirt is, and the example of it is, let's say that you want to take your students on a trip to, a farm, let's say. And your idea is that you want all of them to be wearing yellow t-shirts that are going to have your institution's name as well as the USDA logo. Federal regulations prohibit from doing that because really the activity could be done with any other t-shirt, right? You could say, hey guys, wear a white t-shirt for this activity. In the case of the chef code, in that case, we're talking about PPE, right? We're talking about what is needed for that given activity or that given training. So in that case, you'll justify of how it needed because of kitchen safety and so on. The same with lab codes. Is indirect included in the shared funds, or can it come from the entire grant? So the indirect is 30% of the award total. So it will depend on what is the indirect rate of each one of your partners, but the indirect rate total of the grant cannot be more than 30%. If a nonprofit applies, is a letter of support for the extension office required? In years past, it has been required for the application. No, it is not required. It depends on what you're trying to do. So as a nonprofit, you can apply for, you're eligible by yourself, and it depends on what level of funding you're seeking. It will be, how many partners you need from that. Of course, letters of support are always requirement. Letters of collaboration are even better because those letters say what is your partner will be doing. This has nothing to do with requirement as in eligibility, but it's just about the panel being able to tell that your partner is actually committed to carry out the project. Can you verify the due date? I thought earlier the slide said February 2. It's February 4th. So if any of the slides says February 2nd, I apologize for that. It's February 4th. Are previous awards applicants' proposals available for us to view what they did? You cannot see the whole proposal. What you can see is what the project was about via the abstracts. So in the funding page that I was showing you, let me see if I can pull it. If you go, oops. In the funding page that looks like this, if you scroll to the bottom, like lower than that, it will be a little says view previously funded abstracts, and it will show you what previously funded projects have done. You cannot see the full application. That's proprietary application from the applicant. Are collaborative partners required to have DUNS and same registration? As the applicant, I'm not sure I understand this question. They should have their own DUNS and EIN numbers. Can funds be used for travel expenses to present a conference as part? Yep, you can use funds for travel expenses. They need to make sense. It needs to make sense that you're using those funds and how will they benefit the project as a whole. I'm not sure if I missed the date. How early would the funds be made available, and how are you handling situations that arise of it? Example, meeting face-to-face, still limited in our area. The review process, it takes about 3 to 5 months from the date of application. So you can think about that way. We ask that the start date for your project be no later than September 30th of 2021. When it comes to COVID, that's something that you will have to, that will be part of your project design. How will you be handling situations that arise due to COVID? So if we have a program that is funded but unable to move forward because of COVID, just wondering, that should be addressed part of your pitfalls and your program design. How will you be, those situations? How many months in advance would you recommend to prepare the proposal? I would start yesterday. The more time you have to really start working and trying to figure out what is it that you want to do, and how is it that you are trying to do it. I always recommend people to please take a little bit of the space from the narrative and tell us about your community. Tell us who you're trying to affect. Why is it needed in the region where you are? Tell us a little bit about the need of that program. The need where you are may be very much different on the other side of the country. So just provide the tools to the reviewers to really think about, to really know why is that program important? Why is it needed in your area? I always tell applicants to please put yourself on the shoes of the reviewer. Are there things that will help you to better understand what the project and the impact of that project may be? So just provide as much information as you can. And if you're new to writing grants, I really recommend that you write your project, then give it to somebody else, give it to a family member who will be able to read it. And if they have any questions, chances are the panelists will have the same questions. So just make sure that you provide as much information, that you use all the space that is available to you to provide as much detail of that project as possible. This year, our university implemented a limit submission policy for SPECA. Is this something that is being dictated by the university or is coming down from USDA? There is not a limit on SPECA submissions per institution. So it is not in the RFA, it is not from USDA. I think we only have one DUNS number for our entire district, but I'm not totally sure. That's something that you guys will have to figure out with your authorized representative, as they are the ones who know, and I'm not legally allowed to tell you how to manage those situations about having the number and how would that work. Can we discuss what happens if not all the partners have established indirect cost rate? Yeah, so institutions that don't have an indirect cost rate, we can provide what is called a de minimis rate. And that is 10% of the funds that they're requesting. So if the partner is getting $50,000, in lieu of indirect cost rates, their de minimis rate will be 10%. So that's up to $5,000. Even though the focus is K-14, can a four-year university be the PI, collaborate with a high school where students will be preparing for either associates? Absolutely. So here the target are students and faculty at the K-14 level. So, but a university, a four-year institution, it is eligible to apply. It is eligible to design and carry the project. But the target here, those who are to be benefiting here, are K-14 students. Are there guidelines of how budget is allocated among partners for CG1? No, we don't have any. On the pipeline chart, SPECA is not listed in 4 years, so universities should not apply. No, what the pipeline is showing is not who is eligible to apply, but is which program is targeting that educational level. So in the case, and I'll just move fast, what you can see here is not where is not who's eligible to apply into one of them, but is which program is targeting that educational level, which program supports activities at that educational level. What's the earliest start date? The review process takes about 5 months, so I would imagine sometime in June, July, probably. How much do the grant requirements change from year to year? We're starting the process for 2022. Our programs, this is a very much established program, so it doesn't change that much. All of our programs are, and it is listed within the RFA, what the authority, the legal authority that Congress gave us to carry out this program is. So you are more than welcome to look at the authorization, and that really draws the picture for us about what we can and we cannot offer within that program. Would it be acceptable to use funds to hire an intern to work in our program? The goal here, or the requirement here will be for you to justify why you need an intern and what the activities for that intern will be. Is the CFDA and the RFA the same as the program code? I didn't get to write it down from the slide. The CFDA is a number. The program code is an acronym. So the program code here is SPECA. The CFDA, I don't remember from the top of my head, is a 10 point something. We'll make these slides available. You can always email us to get the slides, or you can get the recording from our website. And the result has just posted, the CFDA is 10.226. And all this information, it is in the RFA. There is a table in the RFA that contains all of that information. We're trying to make it as handy to you as possible, so you don't have to search through the whole document to find that information for when you apply. I think I've scrolled all the way to the bottom of the slides. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions that you guys may have? And feel free to unmute if that's easy. No questions?
Yes, Carlos, I do have one question.
Hi, Julie, go ahead.
Hi, you mentioned about the budget must only be for the project total. Is that, could you clarify? So we might have a budget that's larger for the entire program, but the project that we're asking for has its own budget that doesn't go above what's being requested. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what you mean. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
You were talking briefly about the budget, and you said, remember, it can only be for what you're asking for, or something to that effect. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. So we have to create a budget that matches the number that we're asking for?
So I'll let you finish. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or can it be shown that we're asking for a piece of our budget for a project?
So what you're saying is that this program will be co-funded?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, I ask a question related to that might clarify it. So we received a USDA grant to create an urban agriculture and urban landscaping program in our community college. We are applying for a SPECA grant to tie it in with our high school technical program. So we already have a grant to develop the program, but the SPECA grant would be specifically to modify it to fit with a high school curriculum. With that, so the program is much bigger than just this part, but the SPECA grant would just pay for that little piece.
Sure, and you know, the important here is that those are two different projects, right? Because you have one project that is doing X, Y, and Z. So this other project will be doing 1, 2, and 3. Sure, they may have a little bit of a topical overlap per se, but we're actually funding two different activities. So we funded at the community college. In your case, Ben, we funded a community college, and what you're seeking funds is to develop the curriculum or reshape the curriculum to be applicable to high schools, if I understand correctly. So in that case, there are two different activities that we're trying to, that you'll be seeking funding for, and that's completely acceptable. So what we don't do is we wouldn't fund again the activities that you are carrying out through your community college funding or your community college grant funding. So we wouldn't, add money to that in order to finalize that project. We cannot do that. That will be a double dipping, if you want to call it. So yeah, but if you need more funds, then just change the curriculum to adapt it to something else. That's a perfect mechanism to do it. Does that answer your question?
No, actually, it's Julie. Actually, my question was, for example, we might apply to the state for the same grant to be able to do more work than what we're capable of doing only within 50 or 150 or 300. So that the project itself, let's say, might be a $500,000 budget, and we're asking for 300,000 from NIFA, and we may be getting other money from other sources for this larger project than what we're asking to fund within within a project. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I would encourage you to just put yourself on the shoes of the reviewer. So what happens if you don't get the extra money? Like how and the key point here is that how dependent this project is from getting both parts of the fund, or kind of as an example of what Ben was mentioned, and I'm going to use his example just because, what if his original project was to develop this curriculum that is at the community college and high school levels, but because, funding, because of different things, they just decided to just separate it and then look for a source of funding for the community college activities and a different source of funding, high school activities. So what you need to be careful with is how do you, the funds that we are provided, they need to have their own goal and objectives and expected outcomes. So I will be careful with how interdependent it is you having more funding from a different source, or how would you justify that to the panel?
Thank you.
Are matching funds required? No, there aren't. Not for the SPECA program.
I also wanted to ask for clarification on a point you discussed earlier. If our partner or our partners don't have their own indirect costs at all, can their subcontract look like that? Just the direct costs, or are they required to use, I think you said de minimis, are they required to have at least 10% indirect? Because
they're not required.
Okay.
They can ask for up to, like, if they don't have an indirect cost agreement, they can ask for the minimum rate, which is 10%.
But they don't have to.
And as always, an institution is not required to ask for an indirect cost. So
I didn't think so. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. And another point that I wanted to ask you to clarify, sorry, repeating things you already mentioned.
Okay.
I had thought that the start date would be September 30th or even October 1, but I think you said the start date would be in the summer. Is that correct? If we
The start date cannot be later than September 30th.
I see.
But then I can say the review process and the awarding process takes about 5 months. So, you can have your start date on March 1st, but the reality is that at that point, we're still just reviewing the proposals. So I'm trying to just give you a little bit of information of how the process works. And I can use that web page on our page on our website with the how the process works between administrative screening, the peer review, and so on. So it takes about 5 months from the time that you submit your application to the point that an award is made. So I would recommend that just think about sometime June, July,
Maybe, yeah.
good start date if a
Fine.
program
Oh,
has
a
a
lot.
due date of February.
Got it. Thank you so much.
With the online options, can a part of the project be to reach out to students in a different state or location? Sure, it depends on if that makes sense. Again, remember, your project has to make sense. Why did you choose students in that location and not closer to where you are? It is all, you know, most of our projects, we just put it on you to really be as creative. At NIFA, most of our RFAs are not overly scripted because we really want you to have the freedom to develop the best project that you think is appropriate for what you're trying to do. So as long as you can justify why you're reaching out to those students in a different state or location, and that makes sense, you should be fine. Any other questions that you guys may have? How much total funding available? $800,000. That's all I have. What percentage usually funded? It changes. It really varies. And that's always a difficult question for me to answer because it depends on what the breakdown of proposals that we get, the number of proposals that we get, and so on. And it always changes. There's years where we get very few proposals. There's some others that we have more proposals. So I would say the error rate on that average will be huge if I were to tell you anything. So it really changes. Yeah. Any other final questions that you guys may have? Can the funds be utilized for faculty and curriculum development only? I don't know what faculty means, as in faculty salaries. I mean, sure, you can work on curriculum development. Again, put yourself on the shoes of the reviewer, make sure that what are the deliverables here are. Any other questions? And as always, if you do have any final questions, feel free to just send us an email. My email is on the last slide, as well as Doris Arresto, who's a program specialist. Should we focus on one educational need area or 2, 3? Again, it is up to you. It is up to you, and it has to make sense. So, you know, not always the more is best. What we're trying to find here are projects that are, you know, well described, well developed. I often talk about, you know, at NIFA, we don't fund ideas, we fund projects, because an idea is abstract. A project is something that is actionable. So it is up to you to define how many need areas you want to target and how the depth of those are. So I know that we're running close to the 3 p.m. We have about 6 more minutes. So you have like a tad more time for a few more questions if you have them. If not, and if they come back to you later, my email as well as Doricel's is on the, feel free to send us an email. We will be transcribing this meeting and posting that on our website in about a week or so if you would like to revisit it. If you would like the slides, send us an email and we will provide them to you. Any final questions? Well, hearing none, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to receiving and reviewing your applications. Stay healthy out there, and happy holidays and happy almost one.
Thank you so much. This was very helpful.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.